Charles W. Allen, who is the CEO of BTCS Incorporated. So welcome, Charles, to our show.
Justin, thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Hey, we're thrilled to have you. I'm going to go ahead and leave you to it. Thanks for joining us.
Okay, great. So I'll kick off with our presentation. I'll just take a quick moment here so everyone can review our safe harbor statement. Table of contents. So BTCS, we're actually the first U.S. public company focused on blockchain and Bitcoin technologies. We went public in early 2014 and have been kind of a pioneer in many sectors in the space. Right now, the core focus of the company is on securing disruptive proof-of-stake blockchains. So we're currently securing Ethereum's 2.0 beacon chain, Cardano's blockchain, and recently announced that we're also securing Tezos. The other project we're working on is developing a data analytics platform to allow users to connect to multiple exchanges and deploying a digital asset treasury strategy. So we're actually the first to do that, first US public company to do that as well. Just some key highlights for where we are today in 2021. Our blockchain infrastructure solutions segment, which is basically the staking or securing the disruptive proof of stake blockchains. We kicked that off at the beginning of this year. In February, we did about 72,000 in revenue for Q1, and that grew 425% to 380,000 in revenue for Q2 compared to Q1. And we're planning to broaden that out by securing additional blockchains in addition to Tezos, Cardano, and Ethereum, as we also work on a non-custodial staking as a service platform to allow others to delegate to our blockchains. The data analytics platform I talked about, we're continuing development there. We engaged a team in the Q1 this year to help push it forward and have basically completely redesigned the back end and are making the front end more modernized. And something I'm super excited about is our digital asset treasury. We've grown that over 2,000% year over year. As of the quarter ended Q2, we had 21.5 million in digital assets, and as of August 28th, we had 34 million of cash in digital assets. Given the last couple of days, that's probably up slightly more than that. Some of the huge goals for 2021 is uplist to a senior exchange, i.e. the Nasdaq. I'll talk about that a little bit more. Secure additional blockchains and launch our staking as a service and data analytics platforms. Moving on, I'll take a couple minutes to talk about the industry. Having been in the space since 2013, we're just really excited. Basically, the internet was allowed for the digitization, proliferation of information on a global scale, and blockchains allow for the same thing with digital asset transfer. And despite being in the space since 2013, we still believe it's the early days. I mean, I think one of our biggest mistakes is probably being too early to the game. With respect to kind of use cases of blockchains, and I know a lot of other people on the CryptoFest have talked about this. The big ones that we see getting used are DeFi and NFTs, and most of those are utilizing blockchains that we secure. We're a huge fan of proof of stake blockchains versus proof of work, though we were the first US public company to actually mine Bitcoin back in 2014, and we still own we own 90 Bitcoin. So in terms of market opportunity, obviously NFTs are all over the news. While it's a bit dated, Beeple's every day's image went for 69 million. DeFi is obviously growing, and the market is still small compared to US gold reserves or intangible assets or global investable assets, excuse me. Moving on to BTCS, we're just really excited about the direction we're taking the company. We think it has the potential to create tremendous shareholder value. The first segment, which I touched on before, blockchain infrastructure solutions, we're looking at that in a couple phases. Phase one is expand the operations by running nodes for our own account, and then move on to building a staking as a service. Within what we're doing today, we're running 240 nodes on Ethereum's beacon chain, which is about 26.5 million Ether staked as of August 28th. We've got 257 Cardano 257,000, ADA staked on a Cardano pool, and we're running 2 Tezos Baker nodes, which is about, I think, 18,000 Tezos. One of the things we really like about proof of stake is it's environmentally friendly. It's more decentralized than some of the proof of work blockchains. It's highly scalable, and a lot of the NFTs and DeFi's or solutions are getting built on top of Ethereum and other proof of stake blockchains. So we think it's an area that has tremendous opportunity. In terms of our criteria to evaluate new blockchains to secure, it's really quality, revenue and earnings potential, and technical difficulty. I won't go into all the details, but some of the ones that we're looking at next are Terra, Cosmos, Polkadot, Avalanche, Kusama, Polygon, and Solana. So we're pretty excited about bringing those to market when ready. As far as the data analytics platform, as I said, we engaged a group to help us broaden and make it more modernized. And so that was in Q1. We've got Gemini, Bitstamp, Kraken, Binance, Bittrex, and FTX currently piped into the platform. The back end is really robust and scalable. And the front end, we're working on a revamped look and feel that's mobile friendly with a swipe left, swipe right user interface. And we have some previews here, which is updated from our last corporate presentation. As far as the roadmap, we're still on schedule to open the invite-only beta in Q3 of this year, and the public beta release in Q4 to Q1 of next year, with it kind of being open to the public next year. With respect to our digital asset holdings, we have over 2,000 increase in fair market value year over year as of June 30th. Obviously, it's substantially more than that as of today. We've got our holdings on the left, so you can see both by the holdings we have on the left and in the chart, we've had tremendous growth. As of August 28th, it was 32.7 million. I think we're probably up, just based on public information, that's probably more like 34 million. The one thing that's really interesting to point out is that if you look at our balance sheet as of the end of Q2, we're only going to carry that at 10.9 million, and it's actually going to be split between long-term assets and short-term assets. So Ethereum, since it's locked into a smart contract until it becomes tradable, that's going to be a long-term asset, and then everything else is going to be a short-term asset. But we mark our cryptocurrency down to the lowest price it's ever been since acquisition, and we never mark it up unless we actually sell. So our balance sheet really doesn't reflect the true value of what we have, because it's done in accordance with US GAAP, which really doesn't have the right accounting regime to deal with cryptocurrencies. It's a long-lived intangible asset. So I would encourage investors and prospective investors to really read the MD&A section of our filings, in addition to the the financial statements. Just some key highlights. As of the 6 month ended June 30th, we ended the Q2 with 24.4 million in cash and crypto, 3 million in realized crypto gains, 10.6 million in unrealized gains. That's up substantially if you just looked at today's values and the prices from our the past slides. Management has a huge long-term commitment to the company. We've got over 14.4 million in shareholders' equity. We, as a team, on Jan 1, we invested 1.1 million. I personally invested $810,000 into the company. That accounts for 41% ownership collectively as management. We're very bullish on the company and what we're doing and where we're going. As far as operations, we've expanded to 3 blockchains that we're now securing. For the first half, revenue is 453,000, and we expect over $1 million for 2021. Very high margin business, 84% gross margin, and we plan to continue to grow going forward. With respect to the team, myself and Michael have been with BTCS since 2013 and have been deeply involved in the space since then. We recently added Andrew Lee as our CFO. We've also expanded the board. We added in addition to David Garrity, who's been CFO of a couple public companies, including Interclick. We added Charlie Lee, the creator of Litecoin and the managing director of the Litecoin Foundation, and a former Coinbase engineer, as well as Carol Van Cleef, who's a very prominent lawyer within the money transmission and cryptocurrency space. So we're really excited to have a independent board of this caliber. Just to kind of wrap it up before I open to questions, just some kind of key investment highlights. We're right now the only pure play U.S. public company focused on disruptive proof of stake blockchains. We were the first U.S. public company to begin staking Ethereum. We were the first one to mine Bitcoin back in 2014. We were the first U.S. public company to have a digital asset treasury strategy going back to 2017. And so we're as far as public company goes, we think we're on the really on the cutting edge. And we're pretty excited for the future. Your revenue is growing. We're working on the staking as a service and data analytics platforms. We have a very strong balance sheet compared to many of our peers with respect to price to book ratio. And I'd probably say more of a price to book using fair market value of cash and crypto. We're trading at if it's $8, about 1.35 times cash and crypto, and about 2.3 times. If you include the preferred held by management, which is substantially lower than most of the Nasdaq listed companies within the sector, and as well as the other OTC peers. We're also pursuing a Nasdaq listing. For those of you that saw the recent press release, we did a 10-for-1 reverse stock split, and while I recognize many shareholders do not like reverse splits, our stock's actually up 20% from the $6.50 pre-split price, and we don't need to do a dilutive financing in connection to uplist. Right now we're, I would say, very close. We've met all the initial listing requirements. The stock's traded above $4 for 5 trading days, and we're just waiting to hear back from the Nasdaq. Obviously, with that said, I can provide no assurances or guarantees that when and if the Nasdaq will indeed list us. But I'm, remain extremely optimistic that is that things are going in the right direction. So with that said, I'd love to open it up to any questions that the people may have.
Hey, yeah, Charles, got a couple here from my end. First, you outlined a few goals for the year at the beginning of that presentation. I think there's 3 or 4. Where are you on those goals? How many of them have you accomplished, and where are you towards the completion of them?
So I think the big goals are to begin staking, which we've done. Right, we started staking Ethereum, we started staking Cardano, and we started staking Tezos. The development for multiple other blockchains is in the works, and so I think we've accomplished that. Revenue has grown. With respect to the Nasdaq listing, that's a very big goal. We applied in mid-May of this year. We've answered numerous questions. We wouldn't have done the reverse split unless they'd come back to us and said, we have no further questions. Get the $4 stock price, and we'll send it on to a secondary examiner. So I think that is, I'm optimistic. Again, can provide no assurances or guarantees it'll happen, but I'm very optimistic that we have a good probability of getting there. And on that, it's very rare. I mean, there are only 50 companies on average a year that move up from the bulletin board to the Nasdaq, and the super majority of those end up having to do a financing in connection with it that are usually more dilutive because they have warrants, etc. Our last financing was at equivalent of $10 a share. So we don't need to do a financing to move up. We just need the approval of the Nasdaq. So those are the goals. The other ones we're still moving, and in the timelines, we believe we're on target.
And then as far as the balance sheet, can you speak a little bit more about how you decide what to add and how you decide to add that?
So right now, I mean, obviously we have 90 Bitcoin. That's well over $4 million. We have probably 26 million-ish in Ethereum. So we're very bullish on both of those. With respect to adding new tokens, I mean, one thing we're looking at is, and I kind of touched on this before, the quality of the token, the revenue potential from adding it, as well as the technical difficulty in doing it. And our target right now is delegated proof of stake blockchains, so we can actually drive revenue and open a staking as a service platform. We all also are looking at some other tokens that we would not necessarily be able to generate revenue off of, right? But that's kind of more of our treasury strategy.
Question from the chat on that note: if you're planning on adding, wait, I just lost it. Hold on, chat moving so fast for me. It was Decred. That was it. Planning on adding Decred. Fits the proof of stake model.
Right now, that's not on the roadmap. Yep. But we're going to look at. It takes some time to get these things launched, right? It's not. As a public company, we have compliance. We have to look at the auditability of the things that we add, right? It's not as easy. I mean, I can tell you, right. I would have liked to have been staking Ethereum December last year, but we were very concerned about accounting, and we actually had to go. We went to the SEC and asked for guidance or a pre-clearance on how we were going to account for staking, right? I mean, that's a long process to go through. So we're very cautious as we add new things. It's not as easy what you could do at home, right? Or what an individual could do as a public company.
John Moore, I'm going to read this question verbatim. For meatheads like me, is it fair to describe your company as the proof of stake counterpart to a Bitcoin miner? That would,
yeah. And I don't want to call you a meathead, but that is a great.
Hey, he called himself a meathead.
Yeah, look, that's a great analogy. I mean, we were the first U.S. public company to mine Bitcoin in 2014. I actually helped get Marathon started. If you go look at their public filings and search my name, you'll see that they were going to acquire a company I was involved in, Global Bit Ventures, right? So I understand Bitcoin mining very well, and I think proof of stake mining or staking it's just better, right? Like, you don't buy a depreciating asset as a company. Like, I want to increase shareholder value, and buying a computer that's going to be worthless in 1 to 2 years and hoping that I make enough money as the difficulty skyrockets to pay that off is not a great use of proceeds. If the difficulty on, let's say, Ethereum goes up because more people stake, well, they're going to have to buy the Ethereum to get into the market, which is going to mean the value of the cryptocurrencies we hold is going to, theoretically, if supply demand, economics hold, should go up, right? It's not a depreciating computer. So I'm much more bullish on this model, and we're the first to do it in the US as a US public company. There are a couple in Canada doing it, and obviously Coinbase, you can stake through them, but that's a different beast, right? They're multi-billion-dollar company where sub $100 million market cap. So.
Michael, in the chat, what percentage of your revenue do you project to come from the data analytics platform?
We haven't put out guidance on that yet, and so I'm not going to speak to that right now. I would say the engine behind our revenue is going to be the staking for our own account, and probably the next thing that would drive that would be the staking as a service.
Have you been given any guidance from Nasdaq as far as timeline? Or not really?
That's not exactly how it works, right? Okay. And I really don't want to give any specific guidance, except if we weren't very close, we wouldn't have done a reverse split. That's as far as I'll say. It's that's the last step. That's the last thing you do. We wouldn't have done a reverse unless we were very close. Again, I can provide no assurances or guarantees. They will list us, and if they will, when they will, right? That's up to them.
I think your lawyers will be happy with that answer.
Yes,
You're well trained. You're well trained.
Yeah.
Charles Allen is the CEO of BTCS Inc. Conveniently, their ticker is also BTCS on the OTC markets here in the U.S. Charles, thanks a lot for joining us today.
Yep. Thank you so much for having me, Spencer.